better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Andre Luck here with my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, where I'm going to talk about running a B2B discovery meeting in ticket sales. So one thing that's come up a lot in recent virtual workshops I've been doing with teams is some of the follow-through work that we do is really honing in on discovery. We touch on this in the in-person training, but it's good to come back and um, just do a refresh. Because there's meetings I've been on and meetings I kind of just shadow with different clients, and discovery is the most important part of the sales process. When you're trying to close 5, 6, even 7-figure deals, it's really important to nail this stage and make sure that you have a strong process and structure. And I see some people winging it and just kind of doing their thing. So I thought it'd be good to bring some of those lessons and learnings here, share with the community, and just talk through my process and what I coach with other sports sales reps on how to run good discovery with B2B prospects. So where I'll start, discovery, what a discovery is that initial meeting that you're going to have. For me, just understanding, get a lay of the land of how the business works. Some people have different intentions, but the goal for me is really just to understand who it is I'm working with, who are other stakeholders that get involved, because now in any deal, even a small deal for ticket sales purchase or a group outing, there's 3 to 5, if not more, decision makers or people involved in the buying committee. So I want to understand who the people are that may influence this that I can bring into future meetings and figure out what's the top priorities going on in their business that I could tie my plan to. And that's really the goal. Not trying to close on that first meeting, just trying to understand. And I think good discovery starts with the type of people that you're getting meetings booked with, because you see this a lot with like newer reps. Like they're just out just calling and pitching everybody because they got a list of leads and like they're hungry, and like all they're thinking about is like, all right, how do I get a meeting? Because that's the KPI, that's the metric my boss put in front of me. But if you're not meeting with the right people, that takes trial and error, and it's okay to start. But if you're continuing having meetings with the people that either aren't of influence or aren't the right type of fit, that could eventually be wasted time. So you start to learn, and I think a good place to start is looking at your current account base. Look at the people that are buying groups from you already. Look at current season ticket holders and what type of businesses are purchasing. Why are they purchasing? Talk to your account managers that manage those accounts. Like who's the person that you work with to kind of influence the deal as a champion, but then also who is the person that quantified it and signed off on the budget. Like those are the people ideally I want to meet with. It's great if I talk to the person, let's say a company's looking to do a corporate group outing, and they usually have like an HR manager that coordinates logistics and passes out the tickets and makes sure everything's like set and go on game day. It's okay to have a relationship with that person, but that's not who I want to meet with as a brand new prospect. I want to meet with the person who told this HR manager, he or her, that, hey, this is what we're going to do to achieve this business priority in our business. So it could be like a talent acquisition reason that we're trying to differentiate from other competitors in our industry. And you see this a lot in sports, especially like we saw in baseball, summer interns at law firms. Like they would recruit they would recruit interns that eventually they want to come work for them, and they'd take them out to a baseball game or something to differentiate from the competition, to show, these are the things that we offer our associates that come join our program, that come sign on with us. So you see that from like a talent acquisition standpoint. A big use case, and where I encourage a lot of reps to start with, is like on the business development side. Every company is looking to make money and keep their current customers happy so that they don't lose their business. And so that's where a lot of their resources go. And so it may be a more difficult conversation and maybe a couple more steps in the path to unlock the budget, but I want that business development budget because they're going to spend this much on sales and marketing and this much on employee incentives. So I'll come back to a group outing, I'll come back to employee incentives, but I want to tap into that budget around sales and marketing, and what are they doing to acquire new customers, what are they doing to retain their high spending customers, and then look to grow and expand them and develop that relationship. So it really starts with like who you're researching and who that you're going after from a prospecting standpoint before you even book the meeting. That's going to lead to how well a lot of these discovery meetings go. And so, like I said, go back and look at your current ideal customer profile. Who's a current buyer that we have? Let's go find more people like that. Then this is where AI plays a great spot. I'm real big right now on like letting AI do the busy work, but still the human needs to be in the loop. And I think for the past 2 years, I've been talking about this. I never want anyone to just copy and paste AI and just put that in and like just run with it. But I don't think I did a good enough job of like doubling down on like AI is just there to help you do the administrative work, do the research and everything like that. And then from there, that's where the human comes in, and that's where they're going to be the one that takes that information that AI gives them and then put that into the messaging. They decide and decipher between like, all right, how do I take what I found from this research to tie that to eventually, how I'm going to get the meeting booked and, what I'm going to do to um, do with that information that I get. So that's where AI could play a huge help, but the human still needs to be in the loop and then, decipher like, what do I do with this information? Because that's not the differentiator anymore. Everyone has AI, everyone has access to the tools, everyone has access to the speedy research. What do they do with that to help inform them on what's the best next path they're going to take in their sales process? Um, so I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to talk through this as I pull this up here for a second. But there's a 6-step process that I like to follow. And, one thing we say a lot is that, you need to map out what your discovery process looks like. And it's best if you have like a repeatable process that you could follow every single time. One, it helps make sure that things don't slip through the cracks and like you're linear and everything like that to make sure that you're following a process and like setting yourself up for the end goal that you want and the customer or the prospect doesn't take you off on a bunch of different tangents. But then also, um, it allows you to have a flow with your conversations, and then you start to get in this routine and you're not bouncing here and bouncing there. Like you have a set number of questions that you ask. You have some go-to questions that really hit home and really work for you within the sales process. So it's really important to make sure that you have that all mapped out. And so there's a 6-step process that I like to follow where it starts with really setting the tone for, all right, here, I'm going to share my screen here real quick so we can just talk through it. Setting the tone for the meeting. And so really getting a good understanding of um, what it is that we're looking to accomplish and what it is we're looking to do within this meeting. And so a lot of people, when you book the meeting, sometimes they understand what the meeting's going to be about. Sometimes they don't. All right, so let me share here. And so it's always good to start with um, lending credibility to why we're meeting and the conversation, and then having control throughout the process and starting that from the beginning. So stage one, step one of the process is credibility and control. So what that looks like is the credibility piece is, showing that you work with others like them. So you should come to the meeting prepared with, 2 or 3 similar type customers. It could be the same industry. It could be a similar type use case of what you think that may be a good fit for them. But no one wants to go to an empty restaurant or empty bar. So you want to know that other people in their same field are using you as well. And so let's say like there's some teams I work with, they're like, well, we're, an expansion team or we're a startup, or, maybe I don't have a ton of clients already yet. You can talk about people that you're speaking with. Hopefully you've gained some momentum, at least having conversations. That works. That shows you're at least in the ecosystem and talking to the right people. That still establishes credibility. And then the control piece is like really setting the agenda. So a lot of people get on and there's this awkward kind of, we talk about the traffic and the weather and this, that, and the other, and then you're like, all right, do I just kind of jump into the conversation? So I'll take control of it there. Like after we do our kind of subtleties and like, hey, great to see you again, or great to meet you, whatever it may be, I'll jump in right. Hey, excited for the conversation today. Here's the goal of our conversation, and here's how I say it, some version of this that I say, and then you could take this and make your own. But uh, what we'll cover today is, first, I want to take a couple minutes, ask you some questions, get to learn about your top priorities here, depending on what time of the year, the second half of the year, the next quarter, the next 2 quarters, but I want to put a time frame on it. So typically for me, it's the next 3 to 6 months. So over the next few quarters, then we'll spend a bulk of the time talking about how we help others like you. And then from there, if there's a fit, we'll talk about what it looks like as potential next steps if we think there's an opportunity. So I'm setting the stage here that, I'll talk about product, but I'm not trying to close the deal here on this first meeting. Even if they came interested or came inbound like, hey, want to learn more, I used to, and this is a tactic we learned a lot more, like B2C sales is like time kills deals, and like we want to try and close right there on the spot. And so as a sales rep and account executive, when I get on a call with the business, like I was like trying to set myself up to ask for the sale and pitch product, and people would go through the process with me because all right, you're the expert, but until I became an executive, a director, a VP, and realized like how business decisions get made. Like I couldn't make that call right there on the spot, even if I wanted to. I need to go back and take the information to my senior director, my VP, the CFO, and just confirm that this is in the budget and the use case. So if you're a seller out there, your goal isn't to try and close it on this first meeting. It's to get a lay of the land, understand who I'm working with. Is it the right person? If not, who might be the better person I need to work with? But also just what are priorities going on for that person and in the business as a whole? Because I want to build a plan towards this person. Let's say I am working with the right person. I want to build a plan that's focused on what they're looking to do, because that's what their focus is. As much as we want to grow our business, as a employee within the business, we're more focused on like how do we make sure that we look good. If I'm in marketing, I I care about the new sales number, but I'm judged on like, the KPIs on like being a good marketer. And so as a salesperson, if I'm talking to a marketing person, but I'm building a plan around closing deals and like achieving like the new business sales goal, yes, they are aware of it and maybe there's some sort of bonus and compensation, but like I'm missing the mark. So they're not as incentivized to like make something and push something to move forward. That's sales focused if they're marketing. What you could do is focus on the marketing person, get them taken care of on what they're focused on, brand awareness, driving leads for the sales team, filling the top of the funnel, the pipeline, everything like that. And then, hey, we also work with CROs and VPs of sales. It looks like Shirley oversees the sales team. Would you mind making an introduction? Now you have 2 sales opportunities. You got the marketing person taken care of, and now you're working the salesperson over here that can use it for new client acquisition. The other thing, make sure that, if you're talking to a head of sales, if you're going to talk about retaining customers, do they oversee the service side and they oversee retaining customers? Because sometimes now you have a marketing person, you have a new salesperson, you have someone also that oversees the current customers. So now there's 3 different sales opportunities that you have that eventually you could bubble up into maybe a bigger purchase. But I'm going to focus on each of those individuals that have their own budget and have the authority to move forward with the deal. So that's really the goal for this discovery, is to understand who it is I'm working with, what's their priority, what's their top priorities over the next 3 to 6 months, and then figure out what the best next step is. So I'm setting that up from the beginning, so you don't get thrown off with, all right, what do you got? Give me your pricing. What ticket options do you have? You may get interrupted with that, which is very easy to kind of, keep the conversation going. Hey, typically I like to take 2 to 3 minutes, just ask a couple questions, learn about your top priorities here over the next few quarters, and then I'll be able to tailor something and tell you what I think is going to be the best fit. Because in our head, we know we only sell really like 3 or 4 products within a bunch of different sections, locations, but that can be overwhelming if you give too much information. So our job is to take, this big catalog, this inventory of all the seats that we have and packages and pricing, everything like that, and based on what they tell us, prescribe what we think is going to be the best fit. Anytime I have a salesperson that comes, and it could be someone to do work around the house or looking to sell us a car, which sometimes you got to be a little careful and suss around them, suss them out. But I take them as the expert. I may have like an idea in my head, but like they do this every day. So same with us. Like we are the expert. We work with thousands of clients that have tickets across our arena, our stadium, our ballpark, whatever it may be. And we're the one that best know the use case based on what you tell me. So yes, we want them to be involved in this, but we're the ones who are guiding this conversation. So we're at step 1 here still, which is just credibility and control. So establishing credibility, talking about other people we work with in a similar field, setting the agenda, and then at the end of this meeting, if we think there's a good fit, we'll talk about what next steps look like. So I'm planting that seed now and everything like that.
That's nothing, that's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go.